Okay everybody, this is mooneydashcam. If you enjoy these videos, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe. I do also have an Instagram and a TikTok, both at mooneydashcam. Post on there daily. Alright, let's get into it. So today we are in Massapequa, and mainly we're going to be talking about Roy DeMeo's relationship with his son. Having like a crazy psychopathic killer of a dad, and how that was kind of growing up. Also in this neighborhood is it was Roy DeMeo's house, Carlo Gambino's house, John Gotti Jr, and Anthony Russo, a captain in the Gambino crime family. Like I said, we're in Massapequa, South Shore neighborhood of Long Island. Very, very nice town. And the first house we're going to be going to is Roy DeMeo's. It is at 159 Whitewood Drive. We'll be there shortly, but let's get into the relationship a little bit. Just an example of how crazy this was. When Al DeMeo was the son, so when I say Al, that's what I'm talking about. When Al was 6, his father, for Christmas, gave him and his 2 sisters $5,000 in an envelope in cash each. Alright, buddy, not looking, pulling out of the driveway. Getting the wave. Yeah, so $5,000 each in an envelope for Christmas. I mean, kind of an insane thing at 6 years old to give a kid. At 6 years old, the kids even understand what $5,000 is? I don't think so. I sure didn't at 6. Alright, I'm going to turn on to Hemlock Lane. And then that same year, Al was also 6. His dad gave him a .22 caliber gun and told him the quote, "Twice in the head, make sure he's dead," at 6 years old. Which the son would be walking around all these social clubs and stuff with his dad, and he would repeat this to all the gangsters, and they would all laugh. I think it was the funniest thing ever. Because, I mean, a 6-year-old saying that it's funny, you know? There's no other way to put it. I'm going to turn on to Larch Lane. You go to with your boat. Alright, this next right will be Whitewood Drive, which is where his house was. At the time, the house was very beautiful. Now, it's falling apart. There's no other way to put it, really. Yeah, so the son would also deliver guns from the trunk of Roy's car to wherever he needed them, like, delivered to. Like, Roy would park outside, walk inside, and then the son would go in the trunk and grab guns, put them under his shirt to hide them, and walk them into whatever club or whatever mobster needed them at the time. And again, the mobsters thought this was hilarious, because it was a 6-year-old delivering guns. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous. So it was very hard to find the address to this house. They always said it was in this area. I don't know if I mentioned it. We are in an area called Bar Harbor. It's a tiny neighborhood in the town of Massapequa. And it says it was on Whitewood Drive, but you couldn't find an exact address for like anything. So I kind of knew where generally the house was, and I looked up on maps and pinned it, and I was right. So it's a 159 Whitewood Drive. This house right here to the left, the one with the 4 pillars. Well, they all have pillars, so you can't really tell. Just before, when I drove by, there was a car in the driveway, but I guess not anymore. So let's pull in the driveway and get a closer look. Like I said, the house is a little bit like dilapidated, rundown. But yeah, this was Roy DeMeo's house, where he raised his kids, and ultimately this was his last house. He didn't die in the house, but pretty crazy. Yeah, it's totally falling apart. I'll put in some older pictures of the house when I edit it up. Okay, so now we're gonna head to Carlo Gambino's house, who was the leader of the Gambino crime family. Pretty much don't even have to say that, listen to his last name. Which is at 34 Club Drive. It's a few minutes away. While we're heading there, I'm going to give you a whole backstory on Roy, because I looked him up a lot. I'll go into other videos. I'll do videos in the future about Carlo Gambino and John Gotti Jr. and Anthony Russo and all that kind of stuff. Alright, so Roy was becoming paranoid that he was going to get killed. So he would make his son collect all his loan sharking money and all his money collections for like protection all around. So Roy, when he would leave school, he'd get picked up by a black car. In reality, was it a black car? I don't know. That's what I read. But he'd get picked up, and it would bring him to either Brooklyn or Times Square, and he'd go collect a bunch of money for his dad. Because his dad did not want to be out on the street. He was paranoid he was going to get killed. He started feeling the heat. He was such a crazy guy that, like, everyone wanted him dead. It was said that John Gotti was scared of him. Because he was just that wild. If you go back in my videos, the video titled "The Deadliest Crew in the Mafia," he was the guy who ran that crew. He was the guy who, his headquarters was Gemini Lounge, and he killed hundreds of people. So, understandably, a scary guy. So yeah, he would have the car pick up his son, and he would go collect all the money for him. Very weird relationship between the son and the father. Obviously, his dad's a killer, but he kind of like taught his son how to do all this stuff. He taught his son how to hotwire cars also when he was young, which I thought was pretty nuts. Roy did have a huge car stealing scheme. It was said that he made $500,000 a week. So it was 100 cars a week, and he made about $5,000 a car. So he made $500,000 a week. As crazy as that is. Making a left onto Nassau Street now. Oh, Roy DeMeo's house, I looked it up. It's only an estimate, but it's estimated at $1.13 million, even run down like that. The property alone is right on the water. The back is a canal. You go, you're here. No? Looking at his phone. Alright. Yeah, Roy, as much as he kind of like led his son into this life, he made sure his daughter stayed out of it. His daughters ended up being a clothing designer and a doctor. So, respectable professions. I don't know if you'll be able to see some of these houses, but the average price of these houses in the area is like $1 million to $1.5 million. Some of them are worth like $2 million. Alright guys, everyone pass me, no big deal. I don't want to hold anyone up. I know I'm going slow. I won't be that guy. Yeah, Roy also set his son up as his daughter's bodyguard. At 13, he gave his son a .25 caliber pistol to bring to school every day. That's how paranoid Roy was. He had no idea what anyone would do to him and if they go after his family, so that's what he did. I mean, at 13, giving your son a pistol is like the most wild thing ever. And then Roy started to feel like his assassination coming. He pissed off the cartel, he pissed off other people in the Mafia. So him and his son came up with a plan to fake Roy's death. I mean, these plans never really work out. You hear about them all the time, about someone going out to sea and sinking a boat and all that kind of stuff. But the plan was for the son to shoot Roy in the side and create enough blood and like a crime scene to make it look like Roy died. And then Roy would run, go on the run, and they would communicate through payphones in public and stuff. This is back when payphones were the way to communicate. We had another car riding my ass, so go around, dude, no problem. I want to hold you up. Yeah, they never ended up going through with that plan of faking his death. It probably wouldn't have worked anyway, to be honest. It might have worked for like a little while, but how do you explain all the blood and then no body? Alright, we're going to turn down the next block, Sunset Boulevard. Right now we're on Bay Drive. Now we're getting closer and closer and closer to the water. We're going to turn on Club Drive here in a second, which is where Carlo Gambino had his house. This was one of the neighborhoods that it was said the neighbors kind of liked that there was a lot of mob activity because they were safe. No one was coming in here breaking into a mobster's house, causing any trouble in a mobster's neighborhood, along with the fact that there were always FBI, Nassau County Police, all different types of investigators, reporters, parked up everywhere. So this was a very watched area, and people liked it, you know. Not to say everyone liked it, of course, but there was a sense of security when you had this public figure. Alright, so this is the kind of money that these guys had. I don't know, I don't think this is what the house looked like when Carlo Gambino lived here. I'm actually pretty sure it's not what it looked like when he lived here. But this house right here is a 34 Club Drive, and that's where he lived. This is totally new construction. This is not at all what it looked like when he lived here at the time. But I mean, these houses are insane. And then next door, which would be this house, is where Anthony Russo, one of the captains in the Gambino crime family, lived, just to watch over Carlo Gambino. Pretty wild that you need to get the house next door. Oh, I apologize. The house to the right that I just showed is 34 Club Drive. This is the house Anthony Russo lived in to watch over Carlo Gambino. When it came out that Carlo Gambino lived here and people knew who he was, this block was swarmed, as you can see at the dead end, was swarmed with cops. Investigators having cameras out. I mean, at all times this was surveilled, this road. Wow, look at this like 20-foot tall reindeer right here. You guys see that? Crazy. Every year the decorations get crazier. This is also one of those neighborhoods that has the crazy Christmas decorations. Okay, off to the next house. 33 Rivera Drive. Pretty close. This is going to be John Gotti Jr.'s house. Kind of right around the block. So yeah, it's Roy's house is on the water. Right behind is a canal. It was said that when he was under investigation and people were after him, his son would swim across the canal from the street behind him and meet up with him to avoid any law enforcement seeing him. Let's go through this little harbor here, why not? This is a beautiful area. Everyone's got their boats. Most of the big boats are out of the water now because am I being followed here? Most of the big boats are out of the water, but because it's gonna be winter. It's November. It's winter. I'm not being followed, by the way. The guy just living his life, driving around his neighborhood. Oh, I forgot to mention, Carlo Gambino's house is worth $1.95 million, so pretty much $2 million. The house next door, Anthony Russo's, $1.2 million, and then that big house right at the end of the block, $2.2 million. So it wasn't a cheap place to live. All right, we're turning down East Rivera Drive. That turns into South Rivera Drive. That technically the house is at. So yeah, not long after Roy and his son abandoned the plan of killing himself, faking his death, the police came to the door, knocked on the door, and told them that Roy was found in a trunk in his own car. And I think his uncle, Al's uncle, and Al went and identified the body and got the car and brought the car home. And then Al DeMeo initially wanted to avenge his father's death because he was involved in all that kind of stuff. And alright, this house on the right, 33 South Rivera Drive. This was John Gotti Jr.'s house. I'll put in a picture of what it used to look like. It didn't look anything like this back then. Oh! This is someone pulling up now into their own house. I'll drive right by. I don't want to bother anybody. I'm sure they kind of get that. Because it's a known place. You can Google where he lived and it pops up. It's kind of wild. Alright, so let's just shoot around the neighborhood a little bit more here. Yeah, so he initially wanted to avenge his father's death and go after the crew because it was really Roy DeMeo's crew that ultimately killed him. I go into that in more detail in my last video about Roy. But he's on, Al has this thought of avenging his dad, right? He's on Sunrise Highway, which is the main road that shoots through pretty much all southern Long Island. And gets run off the road by masked men, gets beaten, mercilessly beaten, that resulted in him getting a metal plate in his head. That's how badly he was beaten. And he thinks it was his dad's crew, kind of telling him, hey, cool it, this is not your fight, just step out of this. And yeah, he decided he didn't want to go up against the whole Mafia, so he kind of backed down. And then when the book Murder Machine came out in 1992, which was also another great book detailing a lot of stuff that went on with Roy, Al kind of had a normal job. He was in the stock. He was on Wall Street. He was in an office, and it kind of brought everything back up. People whispering, pointing in the office, kind of behind his back, talking about him, that he's the son of this crazy dude, and it made him spiral. He quit his job, started collecting cans, sleeping with a gun under his pillow. He got a Rottweiler. He got motion cameras. He walked around at all hours with a gun, looking out his windows, thinking he's going to get attacked. And his wife left him. Finally, he went to therapy, and now he lives a normal life. But he had a total mental break at one point. Wow, these people really like Mercedes. 2 G-Wagons, a GL, and a Range Rover, and a beautiful house. I couldn't leave this out. I looked back at my notebook and I missed a major thing. A few major things. The house was filled with stash spots. Roy's house was filled with stash spots for money and guns. All the neighbors knew he was a gangster. They drive by, point, And at one point when he was a little bit more known, it was like a tourist spot. People would drive by and point. And he threw crazy parties for all his gangster friends, big barbecues, his whole backyard was set up to entertain. And then also, one of his most known things that kind of like made the news and really made a lot of people crack down on him. 1979, a guy named Dominic Ragucci, just a college student trying to pay his tuition. He was a door-to-door vacuum salesman. Was parked outside of his house, probably looking at his book, seeing which house to go next, whatever. And at the time, Roy had heat from the cartel, and the kid looked Spanish, or Hispanic, or Latino. And he saw that, and he runs outside and goes to attack the kid. The kid speeds off. He gets into a car. Roy DeMeo gets into a car with his friend Joe Guglielmo, and they chase this kid through the streets. Total car chase. End up getting him out of the car, shooting him a few times, killing him. Right? Witnesses say that he like swaggered back to his car like he was all cool, got in his car and sped off. This caused like an uproar. The kid was an innocent 19-year-old kid trying to pay for college, doing his thing, and he killed him. Al, the son, was really broken up over this. He was like, you killed an innocent guy. That's crazy. And then it's even said that Roy, it affected him a lot too. He didn't want to ever kill an innocent person not in the life, you know. That was kind of their thing. It was like, if you get killed by the Mafia, you're probably involved in the Mafia. Obviously, it didn't always go down like that, but yeah, wanted to add that in there. So, oh yeah, John Gotti Jr.'s house now is worth, they said, these are estimates on these, like Zillow and Trulia, those kind of apps. They said it's worth $787,000. I think it's probably worth a little more now. It looks very updated, but that's pretty much everything I could tell you about this mobbed up neighborhood, Massapequa. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe. Like I said earlier, I have an Instagram and TikTok, both at mooneydashcam. If you're interested in looking into that, I'd appreciate that. See you in the next one.